So I am of the Much Music generation. I was deeply shaped by all the shows that were on Much Music, and particularly one of them is RapCity. RapCity is a deeply important program in the history of hip-hop in Canada. Funky. And what you're about to hear is a conversation with me and Michele Geister, who's the person who created and produced RapCity. And what I want you to listen for is the battles that she had to face. Michele had to face quite a few battles to argue for the place that hip-hop should have on Much Music, just like on the airwaves at all, because it's easy for me, I think, to take that for granted now. But as you'll be able to hear from that conversation, it wasn't quite so simple. So here's that conversation with Michele Geister. Michele, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Man,
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy that you're here. Listen, I want to start before we get into everything that had to do with RapCity, I think the place we maybe need to start is right here. So that is the 80s R&B classic from the band Loose Ends. It's called Slow Down. It is also the opening theme song, right? It's the opening theme song too.
Soul in the city.
I love. Wait, what did
I brought artifacts.
So what are you holding in your hand right now? Describe it for folks who are listening on the radio.
Sure. So this is a CD cover from a Soul in the City compilation that we did in the third year of the program. Much Music did, and for sure, Slow Down is on here. Loose Ends is on here along with a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. I'm very familiar with the Slow Down track because when we we're putting together the interstitial package for Soul in the City, I was looking, what are we going to use for music? And we were vetting all kinds of things. And there had been a new set of videos that came into the station and put that in, played it. And it's like, yeah, this is it.
So it's valuable it's important to set that up because before we even get to RapCity, before we even get that far, we got to talk about Soul in the City because that is a show hosted, of course, by the one and only Michael Williams. Michele, your creative relationship with him began on Soul in the City. Do you want to talk about how the two of you met and started working together?
Most certainly.
Yeah.
So in 1985, I'm really dating myself here, I got a call from a classmate who was working at Much Music. And I had already been a technician, kind of finding my way around. I was working at TSN at the time as a freelancer, very involved in the technical side of stuff, but I had already produced things in my community television days. I got hired for Master Control by the late, great Dana Lee, who had been very involved with the TMU RTA program. He was head of it at one point, I believe.
That's a radio television arts, still a program that exists, formerly Ryerson, now TMU.
Yeah. And he, when I interviewed with him, he's like, wow, you're the only other person besides myself who had a demo reel when they came to interview for a technical job. And so I got hired for Master Control, and I started at 99 Queen Street East. So, forget about 299. The original city building and the kind of birth of Much Music was upstairs in this small studio. The Much Music Master Control room was like a kind of a walk-in closet size space off of the main little studio office setup. And in between shots, the Much Music VJs would roam through Master Control, see what's up. Yeah. Maybe they want me to play a tape for them, whatever. And that was how Michael and I met. Yeah. And it just so happened I was already voluntarily doing post-production on features for Erica M. There was a show called Fashion Notes, kind of a prelude to fashion television. And then there was an Indie Street feature that we did. And I took over for the director, Joni Daniels. I took over producing or post-producing those segments. Michael and I, we both had very eclectic and vast interests in music. Yeah. So we talked a lot about music. And of course, I'd always be trying to get the VJs or maybe somebody on the production floor to play one of my more alternative favorite videos, right? So it was always good to be friends with the VJs. Yeah. Michael had done his, groundbreaking radio show in Montreal called Soul in the City. And he was, you know, he had been campaigning to make it into a video program. I mean, we're the nation's music
Turn
station
Soul
of
in the
videos.
City and from a radio program to a video program.
To a video program.
Yeah.
And one of the official producers had put together a programming list for him.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I'm not working in Master by now, but we met in Master. By now, I'm working on a Music Plus crew because Music Plus also originated.
The French Much Music, yes.
Also originated out of 99 Queen Street East.
Yeah.
So I'm a production tape operator now for the French show. And Michael comes to me at one point and he has a programs list that the producer has put together as kind of a prelude to doing the Soul in the City show.
Sure.
And I look at the list and really it's a pop music list with Black artists.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't soul, like the genres that we would consider
Those
soul.
artists were not, yeah.
It wasn't there. It's like, okay, yes, Michael Jackson is soulful and a lot of other things, but it's not necessarily, he's already in regular rotation. The intention with Soul in the City was to go even deeper.
Yeah.
So he asked me if I would help him with the program.
Mm-hmm.
And I am at that point, I've worked at MuchMusic for 5 months. I take on voluntarily producing Soul in the City in my free time. So I'm working my 12-hour shifts on a crew or whatever my schedule is. I'm doing the crew work, my 40 hours a week. I'm voluntarily producing Soul in the City. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I took it very seriously. And the other thing about Soul in the City, although we had some video countdown shows at the time, Soul in the City was the first genre specialty show on MuchMusic, where it wasn't just music videos. We did additional production, went outsourced interviews, shot shows, and we had a countdown. We packaged things to promote the music beyond just playing a promo clip.
What I like about this, first of all, I should tell the folks who are listening on radio and podcasts that a couple of times you use the word producer and you put air quotes in there, and it's because not everybody was hired to do the producer job, right? You just kind of got basically rolled into doing that, and as you're sort of talking about doing this literally after your shift is done, then you take on the producer role. There's a bit of a looseness there, right?
There was, and in fact, even though I ended up with the shows that I did work on, I did all of the production.
Yeah.
I produced it. Michael would make inputs about programming of what he wanted to do. We would collab, and then I'd stay on top of what other new music had come on or try to find other new, when I say music, I mean videos, and put it together. But I wrote, I produced, I field produced, I did everything that had to go around with that, including an incredible amount of research. Yeah. And all of that was done without any internet. We didn't have...
No chat GPT to sort of say, hey, answer me this question. Who produced this thing? You had to actually do the work of finding it yourself. Not even Google, right? Like that's not an available option.
At some point, there were faxes, but that wasn't even there in the beginning. Yeah. One thing that was really fortunate for me, because I was into things from the technical side. Yeah. When I worked on Music Plus, there was oh my goodness, brilliant young technical director who switched the show. But he had a way of pushing, like the things that you can do now with, you know, AI and just the technology in terms of doing graphics and animations and stuff like that. Well, this gentleman, Robert Della Durante, he became my partner in crime because he would stay me. He loved soul. He would stay after work and help me put together interstitials for soul because every week we had something new. There was a new there was a montage format, but we recut it every show. There were coming up bumpers. There were all these things because we were adding production value. You know, the details give you the production value.
Of course, they're the thing that make people actually want to watch the thing. But all of this, and we haven't even gotten to RapCity, right?
Yes.
So this is sort of the origin point of that relationship. And then you guys say, you know what, actually, this show exists, but there's a need for something else. How do you go from making Soul in the City to making RapCity?
So I started the show. Soul went to air. I started at the end of 85, 86, 5 months in, we're doing Soul. And it just so happens that a gentleman by the name of DJ Ron Nelson, he's got stuff happening.
Himself, yes.
He's got stuff happening over at CKLN. And it just so happens that when I moved to Toronto with my friends from Kitchener-Waterloo, we touched down 3 blocks away from Ryerson. So my friends are college DJs, right? So I almost immediately became aware of the Fantastic Voyage. And, you know, huge kudos to Ron as an entrepreneur, going beyond the radio to bringing the concerts that he started bringing. So as part of our coverage of Black music on Soul in the City, all of a sudden there was rap music being made. There were local shows that also had, American or mostly American artists coming through. So I was there. I was with a camera every chance I could get. And Ron, you know, he really, I don't know how he did it. Like you can see some of his stuff online on his website, some of the flyers. 1987 was when he began seriously producing. I think he helped produce for another promoter before then. But when you see the list of artists who came through in 1987, Boogie Down Productions, including Scott LaRock, Biz Markie, Eric B. and Rakim, Salt and Peppa, Public Enemy. Like, I know I'm leaving some out. It was there was so much content that we went out and got. And remember, Soul in the City at this point is only 1 hour a week. And there's so much other music that we want to do. I mean, we did Black rock specials on Soul in the City. We did reggae specials on Soul in the City. But the hip hop was starting to take over so much. And I know I'm getting way away from your question, but eventually, in 1987, I did a 1 hour rap special. And it was almost like it was proof of concept because it was so popular. It was so popular. And in 88, I got greenlit because we had been, Michael and myself, we had been saying we need a rap show. We need more time, period.
Clearly there's like enough energy here. There's something that's happening that needs its own sort of space. And
but we weren't organized because things were done economically in that production environment.
I think that's a generous way of saying you didn't have a lot of resources. That's a very polite way of putting it.
I tried to keep it that way.
Yeah, sure.
But there was so much. So the idea of putting together like a pitch or a pilot, nothing. We were just like, we need a show. Like we've shown that we can do stuff, and it's popular enough because things keep growing. Yeah. And eventually, I was called into John Martin, the late great visionary John Martin, and tasked with creating a rap show for MuchMusic.
Okay, so just to connect the dots here, there's this sort of energy that is happening in the city. You notice it, you're kind of close to it, and you've got Soul in the City as a vehicle. Like, we can do some stuff here, but maybe as a backdoor pilot, if you will. You try that sort of rap special, and then eventually, all of this leads us to this moment right here.
Welcome to a brand new show seen here weekly right after the Pepsi Power Hour on the nation's music station. It's called RapCity. It's an extension of Soul in the City, and we're going to take you to a new town every week. 30 minutes of rap, information, music, the artists behind the music, and so much more.
Look, the sound is a bit rough because we really had to dig into the archives for that one, but that's the very first episode of RapCity, a very young Michael Williams there. Michele, what do you remember feeling the day that the first episode of RapCity went to air?
I don't remember what I was feeling because I think everything was probably a blur, Like I knew every place that I could grab a nap at Much because I practically lived there.
Yes.
Because I was doing Soul in the City. At this point, I was still working on a crew. Yeah. Right? Because Music Plus had moved. Eventually, I was given a position of being an editor. So I would edit other work for other people, but I could book time to do Soul in the City work. But it's still me using the resources, but kind of the one-woman production team, right? Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure I was just ecstatic, but and it was a long time coming. But there was just so much to do. It was more like, okay, what's next to get done on the list to do this? And just to say, that grew eventually to me producing 3 hours of television a week. So RapCity became a Monday to Friday half-hour package. And for a time, Soul in the City still existed for an hour. So that added up to 3.5 hours without really having a production unit.
Yeah, I think people forget RapCity was a daily thing, right?
It became a daily.
It was there for you every single day. Here, can we just clear up a question for a moment? Because this is the question that people have had for decades at this point, right? Like MuchMusic had RapCity, BET in the United States also had RapCity with a space in the middle of it. Those shows sort of like kind of came into being around the same time. What's the story there?
We had no idea what was happening south of the border.
Yeah.
When John Martin said, okay, you've got the go ahead, do this, come back to me with a list of names.
Yeah.
And in those days, I was still DJing. So I DJed at a place called the Tasmanian Ballroom. I played downstairs. This was on Jarvis, and I played hip hop. I played some house, acid house, and I played reggae as well.
Is it still there?
No. It had an infamous. I think the building is, but the club isn't there. But it's infamous. You can check it out online.
Right. You're like, look into this on your own time. Something happened. Okay, got it.
But I was still DJing. So one night after clubbing or working, playing, I was hanging out with some of the people who would hang out around, kind of friends. And I always did my research. I always went and kind of gauged what was the temperature with certain things with people that I knew, whether they were b-boys or serious, connoisseurs of the music. So I got together with two gentlemen who were young men at that time, Kwame Young, who went on to be a promoter in the city here as well. He's a social worker, and Chris Chilko. There may have been somebody else there, and we kind of brainstormed, and the list came together. So I would give those guys a lot of credit of these list of names. I went back to John Martin with the list of names, and he goes, I like RapCity. And of course, MuchMusic being the sister station to City TV makes a lot of sense. But he's like, we're going to spell it like one word, because that was kind of on brand for, and the bigger group was the Chum City group. So on brand for Chum City television projects were the new music, all one word. MuchMusic is one word. So it became RapCity, one word. So we start working. Michael Hayden is working on, the senior producer is working on that montage with Runt, and I've given him music that I want to be used in it. And Kwame, we run into each other, he calls me or something, he goes like, BT's doing a show, it's called RapCity. And I'm like, oh, snap, like, what do we do? I was a little stressed. And I went to John, who was just this down-to-earth, nothing, I don't think anything ever, fluffled him. And he was like, it doesn't matter.
It's fine.
We're spelling ours differently.
And that was it.
That was it.
That's beautiful.
That was it.
Because I do think that other people would have panicked in that era. You know what I mean? They go like, how do you differentiate in terms of, which one is going to be searchable on Google? But that wasn't a problem at the time.
No. And I guess I never knew until later the MuchMusic and those brands had been set up in a way, they had done things to protect programming in Canada from the south of the border signals coming in. So it kind of had its own ecosystem, as you know, to build on.
Okay, so I just want to continue our trip down RapCity memory lane with this.
I had a good time. I toured the United States. I saw all the people. We saw about 1 million people, 66 cities in the States. A lot of people that support our stance, and a lot of people that say, Public Enemy is just right. Black, white, Jewish, Muslim, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? People say Public Enemy is a good musical group that speaks out what's right against what's wrong.
That's, of course, Chuck D of Public Enemy. I like that the minute we started playing the clip, you're like, the hand, because holding the microphone.
It's always this white hand holding the microphone as I'm outfield producing and interviewing all over YouTube to this day. If only I got royalties.
just your hand present in the faces of all these rap icons. Well, I mean, tell me about your favorite moments, favorite interviews that you produced.
Oh, gosh. I was trying to narrow it down to just one because literally there are just so many. I was flown to California to do the first interview ever with Snoop Dogg.
That'll do it.
And that was pretty crazy in a back alley outside death row, and all these schoolgirls are circling while I'm interviewing. And he was on trial for murder at the time. And I was like, you got to find out about the trial. I was tasked with that, and I was like, oh my word. And
again, before Google, before you could search for any information, you had to go get it yourself.
Yes, and his record company was like, we're not talking about the trial. Yeah. So it was like, oh, how do I do this? So I did what I could do, and that circulates online. A lot of people have lifted that interview, and it goes around. I've seen it around. But what was interesting is a friend of mine, we went to Glam Slam, Princess Club. We had just got there, and we're kind of in the back. I guess, I don't know if it was VIP, but we're in this area. All these people are there. Tretch is there. Coolio is there. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. Yeah. Snoop and his posse walk in and says, dog pound in the house. Mm-hmm. And the place just kind of was like, got very cold.
Oh, no.
And like a pin could have dropped. And my friend is like, it's time to leave.
Wow. A chill fell in the air.
It definitely, like it just ran through the place. Yeah. And I'm not native to Los Angeles. I don't know, whatever. So it was a bit of a disappointment. Yeah. But clearly, like I've interviewed Chuck D multiple times. Mm-hmm. When they headlined for U2, he requested me to come to their Vancouver show.
Ooh, what was that like?
Interview him
Getting
there.
The request.
He has always recognized RapCity, MuchMusic, and my work. Mm-hmm. He recently said we celebrated RapCity with the AGO earlier this year, and we got clips from everybody. And one of the things he said that I was one of the first people on television to promote and cover Public Enemy and rap music, hip hop music in a highly curated regard. He also went on, there's another podcast that he was interviewed on, and he said, you guys did it better up here. The way that you approached dealing with the music was better than he felt MTV and BET had covered the music. And mostly because I was very influenced by the new music and kind of that, music journalism,
that philosophy
type
of care and curation.
Yeah, and getting in. It's not about scandals. It's not about getting whatever the tea is. Yeah, you want to get into
the new music, which is of course a MuchMusic program. Kind of did that very deliberately, right? And you sort of apply the same kind of ideas to RapCity.
That was what I did, and we eventually got into a place at Much where again, the economics of things. Okay. So if I would go out and cover something, that footage, that tape, I'm dating myself, would circulate. Yeah. So it would go on to the news program Facts. Then I would always be trying to sell whatever hip hop stuff I had done to the new music. Mm-hmm. Great producer there, John Marshall, was very interested, and he'd pick it up and include it in some of their programs, which was great because the new music was syndicated in over 100 countries worldwide. But that doesn't negate that MuchMusic, and thus RapCity, Soul in the City, were also on satellite, and people who were aware would look for it. Yeah. And I've heard kind of through the streets about Americans wanting to find RapCity because of the diversity in the music that we played versus how the American shows programmed. Yeah. And there was another point as well where the shows were actually syndicated to Sky Network in Europe. So I was looking for something recently, and I had left a comment on YouTube, and somebody ended up sending me a recording of one of the specials that I was looking for. They had sent it to me from Europe because they had recorded it
there
off of the Sky Network.
Yeah. This has something nicely to sort of get to this next part of the conversation because so Del Cowie is a Toronto-based music journalist. He's working on a book about Toronto's hip hop history.
Yes, I was interviewed for that book.
Well, I want to play you a little clip here. Here he is talking about what made RapCity sort of feel so groundbreaking.
I think RapCity was hugely important for Canadian hip hop artists. We're talking like the Rascals, Michele, the Magique, Cardinal Official. Artists like them would not have had access to a national audience or platform without a show like RapCity existing, because at the time there was no commercial outlet for Black artists or Black music at the time across the country. So RapCity was really important. It filled a void that was desperately needed.
It filled a void that was desperately needed. What do you make of what Dell's saying there?
Well, it's pure facts.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things when I was designing what the content and what the structure of the show would be, I decided to have, and because no social media, like how do we connect this community? And I decided that I wanted to have a segment that I called the Canadian Hip Hop Nation. And I was going off of, the nation's music station, the little bit of rhyming. But I'm like, there's a Canadian hip hop nation here. RapCity is going to unite it. And I use that as kind of an information segment. It wasn't promoting concerts because I made sure RapCity, our rap concerts were promoted in our regular sponsored concert segments on Much. But that segment in the show was... maybe there was a homework session, or maybe there was a after school program, or somebody was looking to start a record pool. Whatever bits and pieces I could put there to help people communicate and find each other.
Yeah.
And it was important because I recognized there wasn't any structure. And, even potentially, because I haven't lived here for like over 30 years, like I still feel sad that there is limited urban radio. I'm not talking about college radio, but there's still limited urban radio in Canada based on the love of the genre and the music. Like I still feel it doesn't get the respect that it deserves based on how much the public appreciates and likes it.
Yeah, I think that there's an understanding to me that like, because this is the thing that I look to MuchMusic for, right? Like the idea that this was a meeting place of where all the energy musically is going in these genres, and specifically RapCity becomes the best kind of example of all of this. And so when you have a show that can house all that energy, and also you have an early rap movement, in the country, that energy needs a place to go, and RapCity becomes one of those places that can sort of really amplify that. What are the moments for you that you really like, that stick out for you in terms of Canada's early rap movement and where RapCity sort of collided there?
Well, I got to be very close to some of those foundational artists. I went with Michele to the recording of her album in Jamaica. And this is kind of a little known fact, I don't know that everybody's aware of. She actually did a showcase along with, this is how hip hop is blowing up, right?
Yeah.
The promoters of dancehall's biggest show, which is this show called Sting, they decide they're going to do a hip hop showcase, and they bring in Michele and the Fat Boys. So Michele, there's other battles happening with the Jamaican artists, but these guys do a performance, and that stood out for me. Just this young Canadian woman, and being in front of 40,000 people filling up the National Stadium in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Also, I went on tour. I never really took a vacation in those days. I would grab a camera and go and do something. And I went on tour several times in Europe with the Dream Warriors. And I can remember like Gangstar was opening for them on one of those tours.
Every sentence out of your mouth was a flex today. You're just like, I was there, That's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm just in awe, Yeah.
So Gangstar opened for them on this European tour. Yeah. And I can just remember I did a home video for Island Records at the time of, high 8 footage. It was the technology we had to work with. And just seeing the crowd, they're just hands in the air, fist pumping. They knew every word. It was so amazing. And what I needed to do, like I really felt it was my duty to document this and take it back so people could see, yeah, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can do this. Canadians are doing this. And in addition to that, that was why the show would include interviews with people who were on the business side of stuff. Not everybody's going to be on the mic.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be on stage or the DJ or the
and you
producer.
Get a full picture of the...
Yeah, that's why when we went to 5 days a week, we had a fashion feature Every Friday, it was Fat Fridays.
Yeah.
We had a chart show, and then there was always a fashion feature, because hip hop is its own culture made up of many elements of art forms. And I wanted to always be authentic. Got me in trouble a little bit, maybe, because it's too real, you know? But it was very important to me to let the music speak for itself. I didn't want to shape it or make it something that it wasn't. As a journalist, as a producer, I want to show it as it is.
Well, Michele, I love people getting in trouble. That's always where the most interesting stuff is. But also, too, like, I think that's an important distinction to make, because you've got this moment, right, where the show is not only airing nationally, it's doing well. It's connecting with the communities it needs to connect with. And that gives you the impression of, like, well, of course, MuchMusic would probably have, would have full support of the show. Talk to me about the internal battles with the MuchMusic brass at the time. When you say you got in trouble, what do you mean?
I think I always wanted the music to keep it real and to push boundaries. And I wouldn't say in trouble. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, because I can be dramatic. One of the things I did, because videos weren't always, remember in those days, getting a video made, like now you can shoot it on your phone.
Yeah.
In those days, it took a lot of resources to get a video done. So I decided that I was going to open up my production time, maybe on a monthly basis, and bring artists in and do direct live to tape recording of the show. So that's where some of those famous dance ciphers, DJ performances, ciphers, all living on YouTube again, and in the infamous archives, wherever those archives are. I hear they're being digitized. That would be wonderful.
It's time.
It
Yes.
would be time, although I don't know what is kept. An interesting thing, the librarian at the time when I was there, her name was Heather Middleton. She was so amazing. We were using tape, and we would recycle the tape. I felt we were making history with this stuff we were covering with Soul in the City, RapCity.
Yeah.
We ended up having our own card catalog, and she would catalog our stuff. And my earliest interns, people like Craig Mannix, Big C, Director X, Little X in those days, that was one of the dreaded things. They had to help me out. They got to come on interviews and do cool stuff, but they also had to help archive the tapes, because I didn't want to let go of anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know where stuff is now.
Well, I'll tell you this. I did notice you avoided talking about some of the trouble you got into.
Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't intentional.
I know, I'm
just being
joking.
long-winded. The trouble. So having those sessions and having all this young, exuberant energy come in, I was looking at a clip of one of those things, and I can see in the background, it's Michael and I, and head of security, and he's talking very strongly to me, like he's upset. The kids coming in the studio. Looked like that was a problem that time. But I do feel like I had to advocate, as well as Michael did in his time at Much. We had to advocate for the music, because there wasn't an understanding of the music. I would say when it came to rap, there was even a fear of this unknown thing. There also were the attitudes that, oh, this is just a fad.
What kind of room are we talking? Are we talking about like a programming committee?
A programming committee,
okay.
yeah. So I eventually, in addition to the 3.5 hours a week of programming, I'm now on the programming committee.
Okay.
Which takes
the things that go on air.
Which takes a whole day of your week.
Oh wow.
Schedule.
Okay.
You look at videos all day long. And MuchMusic had a way of doing it. People were submitting their lyrics list as well. Like things were being looked at very closely. And I always felt that there was kind of a feeling in the room, oh, it's rap, so let's get out the magnifying glass. I felt there was extra scrutiny for the music. There's one programming meeting that I remember as well. It was an off-site meeting. Much had a lot of those off-site meetings.
I bet.
I think we're in the back room at the Rivoli, and another producer was recounting some story about a violent incident at a rap show in America, and decided to share their opinion. Well, I think perhaps we should consider banning this music.
Oh wow!
And not playing this music. And
oh wow!
I literally, I feel like I exploded, because I know I stood up. And I'm like, but you cannot do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's an audience for this music. It's popular. It is crossing over. It is pop music in many ways now. It's influencing pop music. Like, you just cannot, based on an incident, decide that you are going to erase a whole genre.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always pushing that, you know?
Mm-hmm. There's like a long history, I think, of a lot of different stations who sort of spent their time saying, I don't know how much room we should be making for rap at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, you talked about this idea of like watching all those videos and seeing the little white hand. I think that's an important contextualizer in this, because you're the person in this room advocating for rap music at a time when there weren't any, if I'm mistaken, any black producers in those rooms.
Well, I mean, Michael was we co-produced RapCity. I mean, sorry, Soul in the City. I produced RapCity.
But he's not on the programming committee.
He's not on the programming committee, no. In the early days, there were always people who may not have had the title that they were a producer, who were always advocating as far back as when the pioneering thing that made MuchMusic happen. Basil Young, who Tony Young, Master T's brother, he was a cameraman. He worked as an editor on City Limits, and he was always pushing for black music when he did that.
Yeah.
So not as a producer. He went on to be one of the top cinematographers in the city camera unit. And he had an opinion. So Basil would let people know and advocate. In terms of hiring black producers, when I left the program, Tony Young, he took on doing RapCity, and a young woman by the name of Petal Baptiste, she ended up being one of the producers. You have to remember too, we were unionized and we had categories. So even though we did certain work, that wasn't what your title was. Like, my official title is that I'm an associate producer.
Although the thing, I guess the thing you keep talking about though is also like the resources were so few that like a show like the New Music would have had a bunch of people.
They had a whole unit,
right? And they all have the title producers.
Yeah.
And in terms of people who had that title who were black at the time who were working there, it didn't seem like there were none.
I until T. Well, other than Michael, T was the next one to kind of break that boundary. There was something that you said about the New Music. Yeah. And as with the popularity of RapCity, like knowing how popular and well-loved this show is and having all that airtime.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to get creative and find a way, which is why, I requested being able to start having interns because I didn't know what else to do. I saw other shows coming up around me that got resources. Yeah. And they got maybe not a lot of resources, but more resources. And I'm like, but wait, we
have the energy, you have the momentum, right?
We started this whole thing. We're there. Even the first Electric Circus, I wrangled and got all the club kids from downtown that I knew to come out and be in the first audience for the very first Electric Circus because I was on the ground. I was in the streets. I was in the clubs.
And I think like that's where it starts. Like, I mean, that's the thing. If you want to sort of capture the energy of rap music, like you have to be in the streets. That's a necessary component of this. Michele, I'm running out of time here. We got to get out of the studio in just a moment. But before we do, you leave RapCity in 1995. The program continues for another 20 plus years, multiple hosts, multiple formats. When you look back at that initial period of time, the thing that you and Michael and others created, like in 89, what's the thing that you're most proud of? What's the thing that you think about?
I mean, I believe that I got into a media house, national. I had, through luck, through destiny. I mean, I feel so blessed that my path was what it was. But I feel like I opened the door. I opened and I held open a door for this whole culture to break through into the mainstream because of what we did on RapCity. We gave a platform that the record companies could see that there was an audience, which ended up, building careers in all different ways. You're not, as I said earlier, you're not just an artist, you're a producer, the dancers, a choreographer. So I'm very proud of laying a foundation that has grown into an actual, I don't know the value, but a very, very rich industry.
It's not just a rich industry, it's also a rich archive of how we got here. And that's not something to ever be forgotten. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for reflecting back on the legacy of RapCity with me today.
Happy Hip Hop History Month.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for being here, Michele. This has been wonderful. Michele Geister is the original producer and the creator of the MuchMusic program, RapCity. The first episode aired back in 1989. All this year, there have been celebrations marking its 35th anniversary.